Hi, you've reached What's on Scott's Mind. It is August 2026, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about, and I'm not talking politics because I promised last week I did a little politics last week. Actually, this week I'm talking a little bit about planning. Now, on Sunday, as I usually do, I release a LinkedIn article. That LinkedIn article normally focuses on a topic area that I'm thinking about. Right now, because my book came out, I'm thinking about some of the things that I wrote in writing the book. Now, when I write an essay that later, I begin writing chapters in the book, when I write the essay, I don't always, take the full verbatim essay. And in particular, the one I released on Sunday, I did not. And the reason I didn't is it's kind of an environmentally out there topic in the sense that it's not something people are thinking about, and it's not something that we can or cannot ignore. It's just something that I really didn't, focus on. It's in the book. It's a topic that I cover, but it's not anywhere near the depth. And one of the reasons why is that I'm of the opinion now that we've reached a point where it may behoove us to consider. And excuse me, I have to grab my Apple Pencil that just fell down. So, my Apple Pencil's up on my iPad, which is behind my phone. But anyway, the topic is offset. And I blogged about it this morning, and I've been thinking about it, and I've been talking about it, and I've been really looking at and thinking about the concept of offset. And when you think about offset, right, offset can be a number of things. One of the things that I notice, I have an older home now in Maryland. My home internet, in particular, because of wiring, because of age, doesn't do well when it gets wet, when it rains. My internet gets flaky. Perfectly normal, but perfectly understandable, perfectly acceptable, perfectly rational process, right? If you think about what it is that happens when things get wet, right? Electricity doesn't do well, and things don't do well. Light does not pass through water cleanly, right? Go hold your breath, go down, to the bottom of the deep end of the pool. The light is refracted differently, right? You do not have the same level of brightness at the bottom of the pool that you have, above the pool, right? So you think about all of that, and that offset becomes important, right? So let's talk about a couple of offset things. One of the offset things that I have been advocating and really pushing and really trying to get a lot of organizations to consider is the offset of adding solar power. Now, when you add solar power to the roof of a building, what do? Right? You put solar panels. Since you have a space and the machinery tends to be in one corner or one part of the roof area, you cover the rest of the roof with a solar panel, right? You give somebody that has to go up and do repairs, a place that they can easily make it through. But what you effectively do is you reduce the amount of sunlight touching the roof of the building. Now, what does sunlight do? Well, sunlight provides energy, but it also heats. So you reduce the cooling of that building, i.e., a data center. But you also produce consistent power. But here's the thing that people aren't talking about, and the thing that I guess in the long run is on my mind, which is the reality of when. When is a big word, right? When is the moment an event occurs, right? That's the critical path, right? If you think about when a solar panel produces the greatest amount of electricity it's going to produce, it's at peak sunshine. And peak sunshine time is when the grid has the greatest stress on it, because when it is peak sunshine time is when it is hottest. So when you think about the middle of the summer, July, baking day, somewhere around 1:32 in the afternoon, you have a massive amount of heat produced. It becomes problematic. It becomes a concern. It becomes something that has to be fixed. So offset one, solar arrays on the roofs of every data center. Offset two is wind turbines, right? Because wind turbines produce energy, and the most energy they produce is when it's stormy and windy. And then batteries, right? I think that should be mandatory for all existing data centers and should be mandatory for all new data centers. And the reason for that is you want to offset a little bit, right? The power consumption of the data center in that particular area. And if you think about it, that little bit of offset may make the difference between a brownout and no brownout. Because here's the reality that people also forget. Data centers will always get priority because data centers don't just serve that local area. They serve the whole thing. The concept really goes back to what is known as a microgrid, right? So the power system of the United States is called the power grid. When you have a localized power creation system, solar turbines, wind turbines, solar power, small, a mini nuclear reactor, that is called a microgrid because it supplies power within that grid, right? So any area that has a production system is a microgrid. The advantage of microgrids over the broader structured larger grid is that you don't have transmission loss. If you are producing power and consuming power within a very small space, you don't have transmission loss. If you're producing power in Connecticut and shipping it to Los Angeles, you're going to lose 60% of the power by the time it gets to LA. It just happens, right? Those lines, everything, every transmission method we have, you're going to lose energy. In fact, somebody being able to solve that particular problem is probably going to become a very, very wealthy person. Anyway, that's the reality of what's on Scott's mind this week. Again, it is the week, the week of August 17th, 2026. Thank you.